So you have the city has some.
And I'll push one. Vibrator ring. Vibrates.
Okay, it is 6:02. Today is January 23rd, 2025. And prior to calling the meeting to order, I will ask Pastor Nelson to come for the invocation.
Kelly, is the mic on?
Yes, it is.
This is a reading from Psalm 19. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The decrees of the Lord are sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and drippings the honeycomb. Let's pray. Lord God, all forms of government have been established by your divine design. We pray, Lord, that all of these government institutions would execute your justice, your mercy, and your grace in all of the rules, laws, and ordinances that they pass. We pray, Lord, that you would fill these councils, these legislators, and our Congress with your divine wisdom, so that all of these government officials may execute your justice in a divine and holy way. Pray all this in your precious and holy name. Amen.
All right, so we will officially call to order the Lincoln City Council. Again, Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a motion, please. Shoemaker?
Here.
Bartolomeo? Here. Davis is absent. Ernston?
Here.
And Mayor here. First on the agenda is the agenda approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion by Councilman Bjornstad. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Shoemaker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. Now is the time for public comment. Just as a reminder, any public comment will be on things on the agenda. Second call for public comment. Third and final call. Seeing none, we'll go on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Bjornstad. Is there a second? Second now. Second by Councilman Artavia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? So moved. Number 8, under old business, we have capital lecture, proposed maintenance agreement and franchise agreement update.
I don't have an update on it, fantastic, you might understand. She may have some questions.
Yes, I do have some.
We do have outfitter.
This was given to us a couple meetings ago, where it lists the streetlights that are labeled as Capital Electric streetlights, and in red are Lincoln streetlights. Check. And I've noticed in Capital Electric streetlights, are these streetlights owned and maintained by Capital Electric currently?
Yeah, these are the wood poles, and we got a separate billing that we do that's been going on for years, for those poles. So yes, we do maintain them, we turn the, switch the lights out, the photo cells, whatever the repairs are. I think we even replaced some of them this past year. That were ready for, they were getting old.
You mentioned that there's a current system or city is invoiced for repairs on these poles.
Correct, down our light rate.
I see that the ones labeled Lincoln City streetlights are in new construction areas. So how will these poles be different than the ones that are like?
Well, so the blue ones are currently there already. And so are, I guess, the pink ones are too. The pink ones are the concrete poles, and the blue ones are the wood poles. So, our intention, and I think what we discussed with the maintenance department and so forth was, that we would continue to, own and operate wooden poles like we are, and then as new developments came on and the concrete poles were put in under the new standard, we would continue to service those like we do today. So this map is intended to show what it is there as of today. Did I answer your question?
Yes, it does. It's a snapshot of today, and then what we're looking into, the franchise agreement would be future poles.
The franchise agreement is outside, I mean, it's the right to serve in the city, basically. And so we've been serving since 1948, the area, but it's grown into a city. Although history, the wood poles we don't have any other situation in a city that we own the poles, let alone wood poles. I know they don't look very nice, but over the years, it started as probably a farmstead or two, and it's just grown, and we continued to add those lights until we had this discussion.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, I meant the maintenance agreement. So right now, maintenance is being proposed or being invoiced to the city. And so the maintenance agreement is taking away the individual invoices on a per repair basis and making a blanket cost per pole. City pays for the material, capital electric performance maintenance.
Kind of, so the wood poles will maintain on our, it's just a light pole rate. We'll maintain that the same. So the new poles, the concrete poles, the difference is the city owns those. And we own the wood poles. So the ownership is where we're saying, we're gonna service those for you with I forget the amount, $350 a light. And we'll service them and put everything, when something goes out, we'll come and fix it, or if a cross arm breaks or whatever, we'll service that and get it up and running. For the city until someday maybe they have their own, the city, you may have your own, light person or electrician, that sort of thing.
And Madam Mayor, the poles are in red, and this is just to get me up to speed, maybe some members of the public too that are familiar with you guys. The poles that are in red, they were constructed by developers, is that right?
The developers are responsible, and I don't know if you want to address this, but when a development comes up, the developers are responsible for providing the city the posts. And because we don't have our own maintenance department for the lights, the equipment or anything like that, we have to pay somebody to do it. And this agreement is having Capital Electric, because they do for the rest of the city, rather than contracting out with another electrical organization.
So the poles in red, all the costs to construct the poles, whether they're concrete or wood, are that's on the burden of the developer, is that correct?
I gave you the copy of the construction. At this point, the construction specifications state that it's going to be cement. The whole reason we talked about this is because of the expense of the concrete versus the wood. So, and this might be a good time for you to come up and share. As an engineer, he knows more than
Mayor and council members, you're spot on with what you've been saying, so no problems there. So I think to your question on this, any of the concrete poles that are put in and they're put in with the new developments and those projects, those are responsibility. Those installation costs, material costs at that time by the developer. So those are all paid for that way. The wood poles, those have always been something that Capital Electric has done the installation and work on in the past.
it's one of the questions that I foresee being asked is who's gonna be responsible? Because as the wood poles reach the end of their usefulness or safety, and they need to be replaced, who's gonna be providing those posts? Now, is that where I'm going?
That is one question I want to get to. I suppose that would just be future ordinances or decisions the city would make.
Right, and my assumption would be the city would be responsible for that, and whether that is a big project, you know, for an entire area, where all of those are, all of the posts are replaced, that would become part of the cost of that project.
Yeah, that would be part of the project. And one thing we're trying to do with the concrete poles as well as the development goes in, part of it is they'll be required to provide additional pole or something for essentially storage and public works. That way, if something does get broken, there's an extra pole on hand. It's just the expense of the installation. The city doesn't have to purchase a pole as well. So trying to blend this up together best we can at this point. Probably not 100% perfect, but I think it's sitting in a nice spot to work pretty well. I think the city developers and Capital Electric.
Okay. And so the poles that are labeled Lincoln Street lights that are constructed by new developers. So the city just takes ownership of those poles and no cost to the city, is that right? Correct. And by assuming the ownership of those poles, council, are there any issues or concerns about liability, traffic accidents with the poles? The city owns them, or is there maybe Bismarck's already have set precedents for this?
There's always issues of liability if the city is not performing its obligations in a proven manner. City has a lot of protection from being sued and maintains insurance, but yeah, the infrastructure, when it transfers to the city, becomes the city's responsibility, and there's always potentially some liability that flows from that ownership.
Those were all of my questions during the franchise agreement and the proposed tenants agreement.
Thank you. That group, any questions? Council? Discussion, okay. So if you feel comfortable moving on to item number 9, which would be the parking ticket
Yes.
ordinance.
So the council tasked us with making some proposed changes to the parking restrictions during winter months involving trailers. And so what I'm passing out is actually haven't finished looking on this afternoon. Some complexity in trying to figure out how to modify the ordinance and then create the process for service vehicles. So what you have in front of you and what I would suggest is that all of you look at these proposed changes. And then if you have any suggestions or any concerns, communicate those to Gavin and me, and we can make some adjustments, but otherwise this could be put on for a first reading at the meeting. But what you have is two different ordinance changes. The first is in section 1317, which is designed to keep the current winter parking restrictions for trailers. We eliminate, if you see in the first paragraph, we're eliminating the or trailer language. So the ordinance as written has a description of the types of trailers that can't be parked on the street during this restricted time, which is specific, and then concludes that all of these specific items with the real general definition of trailer, which kind of nullifies all of the specific provisions before that. So we are recommending taking that general term out. And then the rest of the changes in 1317 are designed for what the council requested, which is an exception for service trailers. And that has to do with creating the 48-hour window for those vehicles to be on the street during that restricted time period. And then providing a definition of what a service trailer is. And then if you're going to enact 1317 with these changes with service trailers, then we've created a section 1320, which has to do with parking during winter months. And that sets forth the provisions for getting permission from the city and then affixing that permission on your trailer. And so it's a 48-hour period. Otherwise, the service vehicle or the service trailer needs a permit from the city, permission from the city, which will allow 5 consecutive days of additional parking on the street. So I think this is what we had previously discussed. Like the council, and we'll get a copy to the police department as well. If you look at it, should be ready to have this teed up for a first reading.
So what if they don't come to, I mean, I guess just straight away, is there a warning?
Oh, it's 48 hours of well, 2 types of trailers now, right? There are specific trailers that are described in 1317, which is the old description minus the general trailer. Any of those cannot be parked on the street during these restricted winter months. Service vehicles service trailers that fall within the definition in the ordinance can be on the street for 48 hours. If they're on the street for longer than 48 hours without having received the written permission of the city, then they would be ticketed. If they and you know, and I would refer to the police department, but there's always the option of the police department to give somebody a warning or to figure out how they're going to write tickets or under what circumstances, right? So that's not something that as a city attorney would get involved in that, but they're subject to being ticketed if they are violating the ordinance. There's no requirement that an actual warning be given first.
And that's kind of what I was trying to allude to, because there were multiple people that had made the comment, we didn't get a warning. And even though it's an ordinance, or just, and you may not get that warning. And bring that to light, so thank you. And so we'll do that, read over it and come back.
There should be meetings, so I can give it to
Sorry. I see the uniform and I got all confused.
Number 10 under old business is the Attorney General opinion, the 2022 executive meeting minutes of the board. And I'm sure all council should have reviewed after the last meeting. Any corrections, comments?
When I listened to the recording, they specifically mentioned the city auditor's name that allegedly performed their duties negligence, referred to the name of Sean. Is it pertinent that that be included in the minutes?
I guess I wouldn't think so because there's no documentation or backup of somebody's opinion.
There was also discussion of $30,000 in overpayment to city employees, and then the council decided to not look into the matter because of the cost to do so. And I didn't see that in the current written minutes. So
What I would suggest is perhaps the procedural way forward would be for somebody to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted, and then that would start a process for either approval of the minutes as submitted or for a motion to amend to make some kind of change to what is in front of the council. That may be the appropriate way of getting that teed up. No, I think the procedure that we would be in is, since the auditor has produced a draft set of minutes, right? That there would be a motion to approve the minutes as submitted. And then second, if somebody wants to make a motion to amend, you can specify how and where they want to.
Then make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Bjornstead. Is there a second? Second. Okay, hearing none. We'll carry on to discuss any corrections, additions, commentary.
make a motion to interject following to the beginning of the third paragraph of proposed minutes of the April 7th, 2022 executive session meeting. There was discussion of $30,000 overpayments to city employees, and the council decided to not look into the matter due to cost. The administration cost is
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just a point of order on. There's not anything before the council to amend. So if you want to write that into the draft minutes and then submit the draft minutes with that included as a package, then that would be a proper motion. But at this point, what it sounds like you're trying to do is make an amendment to something that's not before the council. So you have to have a starting point, right? And so I think your choices are to write that into the minutes and then submit the minutes as a package with that additional language in it as a whole, right? You can't just add just that sentence because there's nothing to add it to. I think the procedural way to do this, depending on what you want to do, you need to have somebody motion or make a motion to approve the minutes, and then you could make a motion to amend that motion by adding this to the minutes. have a discussion about whether that should be added.
I understand. I just felt I'm making a second to accept minutes and then we not making motions for that change. But I see what you mean. Has to be accepted before we can change it. Or change it completely.
Yeah, because there's nothing to add to or take from at this point, that's before the council. There you have draft minutes before you.
So we need a first and a second.
Yeah,
before we can
or
carry on
you
the
can
conversation.
have the draft minutes revised and then someone can move that whole package as you have to have something in front of you to start.
So somebody would have to second. As we have a first from Councilman Yorkstead
I'd like to second that motion.
and second by Councilman Artavia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And any discussion? Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry, again, what you had is a motion and a second. Now you have discussion on whether or not to adopt the minutes as proposed. And if you want to make a motion now to amend minutes, now you can make a motion and let's just be discussing that, whether that amendment is inserted into this.
I would like to make a motion to insert the following between these. At the beginning of the third paragraph. The council discussed $30,000 of overpayments to city employees. And then decided to not look into the matter. While due to the administrative costs, due to the high administrative costs.
I'm just getting on here so I can read that back. So there's a motion on the table to insert the following. At the beginning of the third paragraph, the council discussed $30,000 in overpayments to city employees and then decided to not look into the matter due to the administrative costs. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Discussion?
Need a second. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, correct.
I'd like to second the motion.
We have a first and second, any discussion?
Grinstead,
Yes.
Artavia. Yes. And Shoemaker.
Yes.
All right, so then we will do amend the meeting minutes for the April 7th, 2022 executive session to include the amended verbiage and bring back for final approval at the next council meeting.
Now,
Okay,
now it's before the council, it's the minutes as amended.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
What's before is motion that's been amended, so
Amended.
discussion on the minutes as amended or a vote. Right, you don't have to make any more motions, what's in front of you now
Is a vote
is for approval, is the minutes as you amended them.
and is that, I apologize. But we just did that.
Yep.
So no more.
So unless
So we will amend the,
what's
minutes.
before you now are amended minutes. And you have to either approve them as amended or not approve them.
as we approve.
Wasn't that what the roll call was? Roll call was on whether to add the amendments to the motion.
Okay, so now we're looking for a motion to amend or to approve the amended minutes.
So you don't need a motion, you just need to just a vote.
To approve.
Either discussion on that amended motion or a vote on the amendment.
Yes. I have. So we're going to vote on the amended minutes. Unless the, great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And no motion, but.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Artavia,
Yes.
Beresford.
Yes.
All things. It's done.
First, when you start amending approvals of.
Make that more comfortable.
Well, it's good to have it.
So, under new business, we have the ordinance for the cat cafe.
So the update is, it's not a new ordinance, like, if you recall, the proprietor of the cat cafe came to council. The issue had to do with keeping cats at this location. And even though memory serves me, it's commercial C1 zoning. Your C1 zoning just subcategories did not include a pet store or something similar to a pet store. So ordinances for the Board of Adjustment give the Board of Adjustment the ability to add classifications within a zoning district, as long as there's some requirements about how that is done. And we overviewed that, and if you recall, our conclusion was that the Board of Adjustment could add a zoning subcategory as long as it was consistent. And so here, the commercial one category probably should include a pet store or something similar to that. And so this did come before the Board of Adjustments, and they did vote to add that subcategory. So I don't think there's anything that the council needs to do. We've identified that the ordinance for the Board of Adjustment goes one step too far, because it indicates that once the Board of Adjustment has added this subcategory, the city is supposed to now publish that in its code as a change in the code, and our conclusion is that that's not legal. We think that the Board of Adjustments has the ability to add some elasticity to these subgroups, but not to actually have it in code. So I don't think anything else needs to be done by the council. I think everything's
Take up together.
I can let her know that she's good to start going. She can start. There's nothing more she needs from us.
there's nothing more. that
She can go ahead and
wants.
open and start.
Well, there's nothing more from the standpoint of zoning. I don't know what the health issues are with having a coffee shop, bakery / pet store. But from a zoning standpoint, that use is a place where cats or small animals are being kept. I don't think there's an issue.
Thank you.
All right, number 12 on the agenda, EDC updates. Is there any other EDC? No. Okay. I had asked EDC, not this last meeting, but the meeting prior, to come up with a plan for proposal to the city council. So just like with the tree board, they're required to present to council their plans for the year, budget, and that sort of thing, to keep council abreast of what their activities are, and to ensure that council has some insight or some input also. So I will reach out, and there's a lot of stuff going on. They've got a lot of activities, and so hopefully we'll get that up next week. 'Cause. 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 ' Item 13, portfolios, and we can start with the Councilwoman Martavia.
Thank you, Mayor. The Lincoln Police Department cordially invites you to an awards and recognition night. This is going to be held February 28th this year. The time 6 to 8 p.m. at 74 Santee Road, Lincoln, North Dakota. This is going to be a great way for us to look at honoring our officers out here. I think that they've been doing a wonderful job. And we want to come and be a part of recognizing them for that wonderful job that they've been doing. There's probably a lot going on that many of us are unaware of, so we want to come and support them however we can. And then there are no big updates right now. The Lincoln Police Department is conducting interviews. Of course, there's a few going forward. There is a panel right now. As of Tuesday, they have a potential fourth applicant. There were 248 calls for service last month, 126 traffic citations issued, and 3 arrests. And that was actually from January 1st to January 21st. So I apologize, it's not December. It's those dates in January. There were 6 animal calls, 3 identity thefts, 3 suspicious activities, 2 harassment calls, and 2 thefts of property and 2 domestics. So that is the state of the address for Lincoln PD. I don't know, Chief, if you have anything at all that you wanted to share with us, or
Not much.
okay, very good. Well, thank you so much. That's all I have for my report.
Okay, questions? So, all right, Councilman Johnson.
Director Shute and Tim went to the North Dakota Rural Water Conference just last week. And they've been working on just maintaining the equipment in the shop, making sure everything's working order. Trying to stay warm.
Councilman Shoemaker.
Our city auditor, Tanya Wilson, kindly gave me a schedule for the tree board meetings. I couldn't find one, so I would definitely start attending those. And I did send Madam Mayor just an idea of the potential logo and your opinions. We'll work on that. And also, again, attending the EDC meeting as well. Our development of our community goes hand in hand with communication and how it's developed and what it looks like moving forward.
Right, and if anybody has ideas or thoughts as far as the new city logo.
Yes, please email me and just shoot it and see if I can do something about it.
All right, and then under my portfolio, I'd like to mention, we need to start thinking about the turnover of portfolios. So I kind of want to just have a general discussion about that. I was hoping that we could have a conversation on how the council sees this being beneficial. I had made a couple suggestions prior council that wasn't enacted, and I had taken in the wishes of council, taken it out of my hand, and done a 1-year schedule for council members, for portfolios, for years. But I also see, well, and then that wasn't obviously approved at that point, but I would like to present that again. But then also with one of the other suggestions is to have a primary and a secondary, because you finally get used to one portfolio, the inner workings of that, and then you're put into another one without any guidance because we still don't have those procedures set up. One of the benefits of having a primary and secondary is, so we'll just use as an example, public works. Right now,
Councilman Bjornstead has public works. So if next cycle you, Councilman Schrader, would have public works as your primary, but then you would have yours as a secondary. So you can be that, I don't like to use the word mentor because, but it's just the sharing of information. So as you're working your way into becoming efficient in that new portfolio, you've got somebody to bounce off questions, and you know, one of the things was, you know, you don't want mom versus dad, you know, going, if you don't get from one to the other, and that's not the case because we as portfolio holders are not supervisors, we don't direct, we don't do any of that, we're leading on that. So, I think that would work out nicely. You go to your portfolio holder, if somebody contacts you that isn't in your portfolio, you say, thank you, I'll take a look at this, and you forward it on to the portfolio holder. And that is a nice transition, I guess, if you have somebody to work with. You understand, making it utterly confusing.
So, I under, as far as the board, I believe I understand what your role is, you know, like having a process set up. In my experience, you know, for about 7 months at this point, and I will admit there were a few times where I reached out to previous council members that held the public works portfolio, bounced some ideas off, see if there's anything to watch out for, some of that. So I understand the thought of reaching out to somebody that has already had that experience. I don't know if I feel like it's necessary to have somebody set up as a secondary rather than just knowing the council member that was on the portfolio. But if it's something that maybe people favor for people that have a objection.
And I was just trying to make everybody cover, because I agree 100%. But I've also had concern voiced as far as, you know, you're just learning this and then all of a sudden you have something else, but I do agree that it's always our way. I had presented, like I said, from July to July, or July 1st to June 30th, you would have this portfolio, and then the next portfolio, the next portfolio, the next portfolio. That would be my preference. To have that in writing, those, if you start out as newly elected or the new seat, the beautification in the office, because there's more support there. Year 3 and year 4 would be public works and public safety, because those are a little more in depth in their duties. And then you've also, then at that point, you have the city's background to get through your people. So that changes it a little bit. So I think, I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Yes, Madam Mayor, council members, my concern is that, I guess my mind goes to the times that we've been referred to by people doing investigations or issues that have come up in the city over the years, and they have recommended that we have a city manager or a city administrator who would help to form policies, procedures, make sure that things are going sort of according to plan and help us to have a better center, so to speak, and foundation. You know, that's something that I think is really important for us to hear and for us to very seriously consider. Because when we look at changing that every year, I think we're losing knowledge that we've gained. And I think that it's important for us to be able to build upon that as much as possible, instead of losing that and then somebody else having to come in and relearn, kind of reinvent the wheel in some ways, because there may not be enough foundational understanding. So that would be my concern with doing it that way. I think there's a lot to be discussed in this way, but I think that, you know, having that experience is really important. And getting that foundational piece with a manager or administrator is also something that I see as very helpful.
Okay, that, in my opinion, would be outside the realm of the responsibility of a city administrator. Portfolios. I guess we haven't decided or talked about what that administrative position would be. But I'm in 100% agreement, we need to have it. And that was gonna be one thing that, you know, we now with the, well, the likelihood that we're not going to be able to purchase, now we're gonna have to build a city hall and more office space, because there's nowhere to put anybody. That could be worked around and maybe at some point, but as far as the portfolios, that's, in my opinion, that's kind of a responsibility of the portfolio holder to reach out. I had asked, you know, for people to write down what they've been doing, so when we pass the torch to the next portfolio holder, that there is some background to it. Because ultimately it's the council's responsibility to liaison with. You know, I guess in my mind, that would be like asking the auditor to do portfolio work.
Madam Mayor,
Unless I'm misunderstanding the term.
if I may clarify, basically what I'm trying to say is that some people coming into their position in council came into, you know, older policies and procedures that were maybe not being used. And there wasn't that ability to help kind of get somebody into the position with those things already done and set up, that maybe a city administrator or a city manager would be able to help in a foundational way in the city to set those things up in the best possible way, so that going forward, whomever is elected and goes into those positions, then would have that already set up in there, which would make that transition a lot easier. And I, you know, personally, I think it would be really nice to have that happen so that a person really understands how to go about their job and that it's clearly set out. And you know, you can understand what it is specifically, got all your policies, procedures, and you're not trying to form something up. It's already there for you, or you help to work together to make that happen.
And the timeline then for that, because we don't have an administrator. So we get somebody in here, they have to then learn the jobs, the departments, the portfolios, and create procedures, so then you're a year down the road. I don't understand, so are you saying you don't want portfolios to change?
It's just, if I may ask, you all clarify. Are you saying that without like an office manager, administrator, somebody holding that position, are you saying you feel it'd be better to have the portfolio holders hold those portfolios for a longer term than 1 year?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Just more like a stability thing, that not so much turnover that
Yes,
things
because
get lost.
council, I feel that once that knowledge is gained and that experience is had, that it's important to continue to build upon that. And certainly there's a lot to be visited there, but I think that experience and time is something that's really important.
One of the frustrations I had when the whole discussion came up is nobody was able to tell me what their portfolios consisted of. And so a year and a half, almost 2 years later, that's still not in effect. I don't know what another 6 months is gonna do. Because even, with this, are we writing down what we're doing on a daily basis or a monthly basis, or the contacts that we have with, these are things that are going to be part of somebody coming in a year from now? Are they gonna know? So then do you have the same people doing the same thing for 3 years? And then have that sense of ownership, which ultimately caused all that chaos because somebody didn't want to give up the portfolio. And then we had a year of constant bickering, fighting about other things because of it. So I don't know, I mean, have you put anything down as far as the duties that you had, or you're just, Councilman Bjornstad, that I don't know as far as Councilman Davis, you said, but I mean, has anything been compiled that we can put in a repository? Because ultimately, once we sign that leadership, in there would be that portfolio, the rotation, and then, for lack of better word, the daily duties or the monthly, quarterly, these are the things that are gonna come up, and these are the things that you're gonna have to address. Those are the things that are gonna make that transition. I guess I don't see that there's gonna be any difference 6 months from now without everybody putting in some time to get those portfolio, or to get in written form things associated with this. I have reached out to different cities. I have looked online for different people's portfolios, and there's not anything specific that I have seen. On Mondays do this, on Tuesdays, or that sort of thing. But there is a general guidelines. I don't know if anybody else is doing it. But
Can I make a suggestion for the holders? Have you guys done that for the cities and kind of look at, what they have as far as how the proposals work and what they suggest?
You may have received it as well. I know. I was given a document that I was printed off the website when I was first elected. I'm not sure why, but I'm guessing that's where you're going. I believe that came from what you were seeing. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 pages, just kind of receiving a general overview of what the public works does. I don't know if that's specifically what you're looking for as far as the folio folder.
that's a good start too, because that tells you these are the things that are common for this area. Some things are applicable, so we don't need to put that in. But it would be part of that document.
I think my question more so then would be, are you looking for us to write down what we feel that has? So it's kind of great because I know like public safety works compared to that beautification. There are specific departments that some of the proposals have. Are you looking for us to write down what the duties of those departments are? Because as
No.
far as like my work with the departments, in my mind, it's kind of a fluid thing that there really isn't specific deadlines and like steps to follow. I feel like I'm kind of more of a sounding board to the deputy or to the director. So I was like, get it up, get my opinions on how we should proceed, something like that. I don't know how something like that can really be put down.
So I'm not looking for detailed, do this, do that. I'm looking more at direction of these are the types of things that as a portfolio holder, as the liaison, you would be doing. Okay, so, one, are you looking at being a supervisor of that? Because that's one of the things that could become an issue is when a portfolio holder believes or is perceived to be the supervisor, because that's not the case. We are the sounding board. We are the ones that if Public Works has a question and concern, they come to you as a portfolio holder. If it's something you address, but you're not the decision maker. Oh, sorry. You're not the decision maker, but you're the one then that comes to council and says, these are the things that we need to talk about. But if there's nothing in writing to tell the director that these are the things he needs to come to you about. Where the line gets blurred as far as how much responsibility, how much interaction that we're going to have with them, because their job is to do their job. That's what. And I just think that if we have, these are kind of some of the tasks that are associated with having sport. Not in more of a high level. Now, if you never talk, okay, here's beautification. So for a long time, beautification meant somebody was upset about the weeds in the garden. And they were contacting the beautification, doesn't fall under beautification. That falls under the works, and that would be okay to the city. That's the beautification portfolio holder. Beautification portfolio holder would be the way my perception, what I have seen with other cities is ways to attract businesses or to, clean up the appearance of the city. Beautiful, but can we have that city center with the trees and changing logos and things like that? Not nuisance, because that falls under somebody else. But if we don't have it in writing that this is what having a beautification portfolio means, then that line gets blurred. And maybe I'm making it a little more difficult and confusing than it needs to be, but the common comments that I hear is this person's my supervisor. No, that's not what it is. So what is our job as the portfolio? So we don't have the same issues coming up over and over again. So we get nice and muddy.
I have no problem doing a little more research on this and, like you had mentioned, checking out the city's website and trying to compile the focus. Just how it will the duties of the public works portfolio holder should be.
Well, and that is a perfect place to start with it, because like I said, not everything is gonna fall under, no city. Two cities are alike, some things are gonna be in one, some not the other. But we can't address it if we don't know that this is something that have happening. And if we write down, okay, we might think that we have to talk about snow rooms. Well, what happens in that process? Well, somebody goes to the council or somebody approaches the director and more of a step-by-step. Are these things that we take care of? This is something that the director, the department heads take care of. So it's just a learning document, because if we don't have something in writing, you know, 5 years from now, the same thing's gonna happen. People are gonna come in and feel lost. As far as, you know, that learning curve, everybody, every year, whether you have it for 2 years or 3 years, as soon as you go on to the next portfolio, you're gonna have questions. And you're not gonna address everything. It's gonna be a working document and but something in writing to build on and review every year. We may find, okay, we don't have to have this, and this. But we do address this every year, so. Those are my thoughts.
Mayor Bartland and council, what are your guys' thoughts on if we were to investigate and kind of do some digging ourselves into how we could really create a foundational piece for each portfolio, some of the different pieces that would be needed in terms of duties, responsibilities, the when, how, who, you know, just kind of the meat and potatoes. How about if we came together to look at something like that, to start building something that the city could agree upon? Perhaps that we could use as that foundational piece going forward. And hopefully someday, you know, come together with the manager or administrator and formalize more.
One of the things I had done with previous council is ask them to, you know, do this, write down some of the things. But then also to have brainstorming sessions where you just, you know, meet here. Obviously, it'd be open to anybody to just have a general conversation to where we can bounce ideas off each other, not in the council setting. So if you'd be up for that, I am happy to come and take care of that. And if you could come, you can come and not whatever. The rest of the council says.
I like that idea. For example, I mentioned during after last meeting, said we should be looking to invest into a water softener for this finds expensive pressure washer. If water is very damaging to the pressure washer. So things like that, I mean, the idea to cancel the choice about it. Brainstorm sessions, that I'm sure is right.
Well, to come in and so we can get a procedure, a loose procedure manual for council to act within their portfolios. So, and that would be general. If you have an idea that would benefit another department, this is what you would do. You would go to the portfolio holder, mention it to him, and then he would take that on. Or if somebody came to you and said, you know, I think we need to have some trees over here or put up Christmas lights over there, then you can say that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass that on to the beautification portfolio holder. And so, you know, 5 years from now, when the same question comes up, you can say, okay, you know what, this was set up somewhere. This is something that would fall under beautification. And we know where to direct it. So would you be open to meeting up on a weekend or? Just or to come in an hour early for a meeting, not an hour early, but and I don't think that I think that having staff maybe wouldn't be necessary as long as we recorded it. Turning around and you know had minutes, posted it, but it wouldn't require the auditor or the staff to come be present. Because it would be just a brainstorming session.
I think the whole council, starting the session, the whole council's meetings,
Well,
special meeting of the council and familiar with whether or not there's a requirement that the auditor attend all meetings or not, that somebody needs to keep the minutes ready for that meeting. But I'm not as concerned about that. Just have a meeting. This is a special meeting, all the requirements.
I just want to make sure that we're not burdening them with having to come for additional meetings. Either that or just we could have it part of our regular session and tackle, maybe one topic at each meeting, to where it's a 15-20 minute conversation rather than an hour or two on it. Other than so that's an option too.
Maybe just start in the next council meeting, compare with proposed definition for each portfolio holder and brings what do I feel my position should entail as a portfolio holder.
And that's a great starting point.
Because I do see in the ordinances right now that education is just a means of retrieval. There are more duties to them to do. So that's what you're saying, to define
what those duties are.
and after that, get into how the portfolio position is delegated. And I believe right now, is it still that the council members vote?
No, it is mayor discretion. But like I said, the frustration came because it was the intent to take that away. And so I thought a great way to just take that off the table was to have a rotation set up. That's not to say that that's the best way to go about it, and we can talk about that later too. But I think the initial, this is what my portfolio is, these are the things that are part of that, and we can build on that. Say, okay, well, maybe it shouldn't be part of beautification, it should be part of public safety. Yeah. So can we do that? Come with a summary of what we believe our core function as that portfolio, and then just add that part of our portfolio discussion. Yes.
Okay. First sentence of everybody's description can be, it is not the job of beautification portfolio holder to supervise the tree board, supervise how the rest department or supervisor just states very clearly that we're not supervisors, we're having a position.
We are the middle to bring it to council. So, all right, so we will change that and make that maybe not a separate line item, but just part of the discussion as we present our portfolios next time. We still have not had any updates for comprehensive plan. And this is something that goes under planning and zoning. There are a couple individuals who still hasn't been addressed, so when you because this is quite a few months. And then do we want to take a stab at it? Do we want to set specific dates to have it posted on the city website so we can have people come in and share their ideas?
Madam Mayor, can you clarify what it is specifically that we are looking for? Are we looking for a completed plan? Is this something that's been started with someone or a group and then it's kind of stalled off? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, in 2018, there was a comprehensive plan with the city. The city had their own comprehensive plan. Park District had their comprehensive plan. And then because, that was 2018, so that's now 7 years later, it's just time to update, and this is an opportune time because we've got development, we've got growth, we've got business and opportunities. And to cut the costs a little bit for each entity, if everybody worked on it together. And I think that so it's not completely revamping, it's just taking a look at it, updating or seeing areas within the comprehensive plan that need to be updated. And that is something that would work through our here. And typically it's the engineer and the planning consultant,
So,
and then they would bring it to council for consent. So,
so just to clarify, Madam Mayor, is it currently being worked on?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I was under the understanding that it was going through that process already, so I misunderstood.
It was supposed to be, but I have not received meeting dates. I had sent emails, but we don't have specific dates set aside. So do we have that? I guess, have you heard anything else?
No. That was. I was only, we did kind of in the preliminary discussion last, early summer, and I think some of the plans on the numbers, we're kind of taking it forward from there, and I haven't seen or heard anything since.
I guess does council want to start the process and encourage planning and zoning to come into it? I know that there are two people that have been selected to participate.
Am I mistaken? For some reason, I was under the impression that the comprehensive plan is usually updated every 10 years.
There is nothing set as far as a time frame. I believe it's 5 years is when people typically start taking a look at it. Or when there is significant change. And here it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be variable, just kind of what fits the needs of the community. But kind of 5-10 year range is typical.
Council, may I make a suggestion that we, or just for discussion, that we reach out to planning and zoning and ask them, where does this stand with those said members who were looking at it? And see what's happening and where do we go from there.
And I have reached out and was told, yes, I'm willing to do it, but my date's set up. So I think at this point it's, we set dates, but I won't do that until it comes to those.
If that's something that's we did actually fall voting on it, I don't have objection to it. Not sure what kind of timeline we'd be looking at on something like this as far as setting dates. Like, are you looking
There-
for?
there is no-
Update on something?
More so direction on how important this is as far as a council to have the updates. Has everybody taken a look at the comprehensive plan to see? So I mean, do you see that a need for it to where we push this? Or is it still just kind of like them keep it on their radar?
How long does this process typically take?
Well, this is just an update, so
Yeah, since it's an update, it's be pretty variable. It's a matter of how in depth you really want to get. It can be just a broad brush kind of look at specifically just zoning. That's all. Or you get into topics deeper. That's just it's really up to kind of that committee or those people that are looking at it, how much they want to do it. So.
well, and one of the things that had been done when we did it before is they used Lincoln Days as an opportunity for people to have that public interest. As far as the amenities that they wanted within the city. So, I think it's important because we do have a possible city center and school, you know, we have roads, you know, all of those things that we have to address. I think it's prudent for us to stay on task to make sure we get it done. And Lincoln Days is in August, so that's 7 days, so we would have to at least start within the next month or two. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just send an email and ask them to lock down dates.
And that's, you know, I would be,
Part of that.
yeah, I was gonna say to Madam Mayor that I would be happy to sign my name to that if there's any interest for the rest of the board to sign our names to it, if you feel like help you whatsoever, but, I mean, yeah, I think it's hopefully for us to ask for certain dates.
Well, and it's a community project, you know, it is not a council decision, you know, this is something that is encouraged to participate with, so.
Well, there's 9 chapters to the comprehensive plan, current comprehensive plan. Would it be beneficial to have each chapter as an agenda item for each council meeting, so that way public comment can be on that chapter on the agenda, we can discuss and give our thoughts, take notes, and once we get through all the chapters, take them to this is probably stated. What do you know from here, the impacts, or should just another approach.
Stand, well, they'll kind of push and encourage community to voice their opinions at our meetings, but I wonder if that would be overstepping on if this is supposed to be something like that. So if we should be, if we should basically make sure that they are both their duties to do this.
Because then it comes to council for approval of that. But the community would be absolutely encouraged to be part of the process. I know when I was doing it before, we met at different locations. And sat and went through it. So I suspect, and I don't suspect it's gonna take as much time. It's updating those ordinance or the zoning and things like that. It's just a matter of ensuring we get done. So I'll give you an update at the next meeting. How about that? As far as what I heard from planning and zoning and then. But that doesn't keep us from taking a look at the comprehensive plan and. We'll see the real thoughts. Exactly. So that's all I have. So we can go on unless anybody else has something. Sure. Auditor?
I'm working on the December statement. Talking to auditors, they're hoping to now, get to us by the end of February. On that note, she did send me an email and asked me, to go before council and make sure that, and we feel okay to the 20, to do them year by year, so we're through 2024s. And then, to kind of nail down, you know, kind of a time frame, and I think Tammy and I said if it was approved, you know, right now we're trying to do year-end stuff, W-2s, 10, all of that stuff, and then, finish out their audit in February. Maybe that March, April, and May timeframe versus later in the year. I don't know. I would have your approval to let them know it's okay that we will stick with the state to do the 20 annually. I think it would be a little easier getting all the information to them. There's just so much to it. It takes a lot of time to move.
So you need a motion for that approval?
I would need a motion, yes.
I make a motion to approve annual audits.
Second. We have a first by Councilman Artavia, second by Councilman Schumacher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, discussion, and so moved. And we should probably get a roll call on that.
Johnston,
Yes.
Artavia,
Yes.
and Shoemaker.
Yes.
And you guys don't care when we choose to do it, do you? Whatever works for us in the office.
I think it's great for you guys to make that determination in your office.
Thank you. Again, the November statement, you guys have that in your packet, is off again, which I told you is going to be off, it's going to be off again in December. And, it's possibly gonna be off in January, and hopefully after that, we can get it all straightened out. And, I did see on the December statement that the refunds are in for all of them that they had charged us starting from September, October, November, and December. So that'll help to kind of get that straightened out. And then I had told you that the interest rate had dropped on our checking account, so most of 2024, the interest on the checking account was at 2.50. December it dropped down to 2.40, and now in January it's down to 2.25. We have a new hire, hopefully starting in the office around February 5th. Tammy and I did the Rural Water Expo, part of the training, and her and I we went to the Attorney General's conferences, that was about like open meetings, Robert's rules, open records request, what's required, what's not required, just all kinds of stuff like that. Tammy had a couple of conference calls. She also had a meeting with Apple Creek utility manager for the mobile home community over here for all of the past due accounts that are quite delinquent. They are working on it. They sent out some letters trying to get these people on some payment plans and get them updated. We're finding out a lot of the mobile homes, people have moved out of them and people have moved in and they never did a resident application. And so we will work on trying to get all that taken care of and get those paid up.
Do you have a new balance? Or because I believe at one point it was $40,000 in arrears.
Tammy just sent it and I didn't look at the bottom of it, what was delinquent. But I do know there's like 20 delinquent accounts. I think I did send that. I didn't catch it off, I'm sorry. Some of them are up in the range of 2,000, 1,800. Kind of out there.
I brought that up, so follow up. So.
And Tammy just had those conversations today. If Tammy, you had something more to say about that.
Jeez.
With the call that I have was with Miles and Christy, who is a local person here who manages the mobile home court. And she is emailing, making phone calls, setting up payment plans. She's mainly starting with targeting the ones that are $1,000 or more, which there are about 10 to 15. The monthly bills over there are $55.89. So you can see when I get to 1,000 or over 2,000, they haven't paid for a while. She's also looking at, they are doing individual meters that are built by South Central over there, looking into if she is able to suspend their water to get them to the utility. She's going to look into that. But yeah, we started a process. We're going to start doing a kind of a back and forth thing. She's going to send me who's agreed and set up a payment plan and what they've agreed to pay. We'll add it to our system and then confirm with her that they have come in and followed their payment agreement and made payments.
I'm just gonna say, so the issue with Apple Creek is that in 2019, the city annexed the trailer park into the city. And the owners of the park at that time contested the annexation and went to mediation. And as part of that mediation, the city entered into a mediation agreement. I don't think it was ever turned into a formal agreement after that, but the problem that the issue from the standpoint of the city is that this is a single property. It's a single property owned by a single owner. And absent some agreement or some understanding, the city could just tell the owner, we are charging you X and you are paying us, and then you sort it out with your subtenants. But as part of this mediation settlement, the city agreed to a process where it would bill individuals. And then if they didn't pay, the city would, I think, make one attempt to collect, and then at that point, the mobile home park would stand up and pay it. So I know we talked about this previously, right before the ownership changed, about, hey, you've got to come up with, got to get caught up on this. And then I did see the delinquency notice that you sent, and I wanted to visit with you about that, because it seems unacceptable to me that we're chasing thousands of dollars from the property owner. And I think what we should take a real strong position with them, which should be, you need to either get this collected within a certain amount of time, or you need to pay it. And we're going to change things so that we're just charging you, because we don't have any, we can't lean up the property. Like, we're not chasing the people that are within your subdivision. So I wanted to visit with you guys about that and bring that to council, but I mean, that's what I would recommend. And certainly we can work with the auditor's office in Apple Creek and just let them know that this idea that there are people that are thousands of dollars behind, that we're not going to fund that. Does that seem acceptable as kind of a path forward? Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I got real excited when I saw it. I just didn't have a chance to talk. I know you are. That's okay.
Other than that, I think that's fixed on.
Are there any other items up for discussion? All right, it is 7:27 and we are adjourned.